President Trump has signed the legislation that awards former New Orleans Saints and Washington State football player Steve Gleason the Congressional Gold Medal, the highest civilian honor awarded by Congress. Gleason is the first NFL player to receive a Congressional Gold Medal. The 41-year-old also has ALS, and Congress sought to honor him for his work as an advocate for people with a paralyzing illness. The man that spearheaded making that award possible joins us now. Senator Bill Cassidy, thank you so much for coming in. That's about one of two good things that happened this week, along with the government shutdown that happened, but also the national flood insurance policy reissuing policies as a result of some of your work. Tell us about that.
Well, first, very pleased about Gleason. Again, football hero, but he has used his illness in a way which is positive for many others. And the Congressional Gold Medal is the highest award Congress can give. So very pleased he got that. The second thing, as you mentioned, the government shutdown, no one likes it. On the other hand, when FEMA came out and said, listen, because of the shutdown, we're not going to be able to write new policies, my staff and I said, time out. If you look at the law, and if you look at where your revenue comes from, you should still be able to do so. We sent them a letter. They looked at it. They said, you're right, we're wrong. And then they began to write again. So sometimes government works even when it's not working.
Is that much like what you're seeing in Washington, a huge disconnect, which is why they can't come to an agreement on, getting rid of this shutdown?
Well, there's a fundamental disagreement. The president ran and got elected saying he was going to protect the southern border. And clearly we have a problem. Democrats disagree with him. Now, the amount of money involved is not very much when it comes to the federal government. And the president has decided to draw his line in the sand. We'll see how it goes. We need to secure the southern border. We need to secure the southern border. And that fundamental kind of disagreement will be resolved.
We were just hearing in one of the national packages that we just ran that Senator Collins of Maine may be one of the Republicans that might be shifting. Are you possibly seeing some others in the Senate that might be shifting as well to possibly end the shutdown, or no?
Well, it almost doesn't matter what Republicans do. The president said he won't sign. Now, if the president says he won't sign, it doesn't matter because there will not be votes to override his veto. So we really need to get Democrats in the House agreeing that we need to secure the southern border to a degree that the president finds acceptable, and then the deal is done.
All right, let's shift back here. There's a problem with the guidance the state needs from the U.S. Department of Housing on the Restore program related to the 2016 flood. Let's listen to a soundbite with Nick Spire with the Restore Louisiana program.
We're waiting on HUD to tell us, are we able to eliminate the entire loan amount, which is what we're currently required to count as a duplication of benefit, or will they restrict that in some way? They're obviously getting impatient, as we all are, as we await this guidance. It just means another day will go by. Well, they will not know if this new legislation will ultimately positively impact.
All right, so is there something that can be done to speed up getting that information on the duplication of benefits issue resolved?
I had a phone call with the National Flood Insurance Program and the other federal agencies last month. And they said that they had work they had to finish up with, but they did think by the end of January they'd have that guidance out. Now, it's possible, I suppose, the government shutdown could push that out a little bit, but it was never going to be done by January 1st. It was going to be January 31st. So I'm optimistic and hopeful that they will still get that out. We need to help these families that have been affected by the flooding to complete the rebuilding process. I think that will come about, Chris.
I'm talking to people out on the streets almost every day, and they're just frustrated. They feel like, Washington isn't possibly hearing them. They just feel like it's delay after delay after delay. What do you say to those people? Because they feel like you have the power to possibly change it and make it right, and they just feel like, their wits end.
Government never works quickly. You can say there's been a lot of positive things that have happened. There's been $5 billion, $500 million that was initially put out that's already been spent. There's been a lot more money that's already out there. Some of it's held up in the state. The state, Restore Louisiana, the money has come to the state, and now it's a question of the state's ability to get that dollar out. So that's no longer the federal government. But as regards this duplication of benefits, that will happen. It's not going to happen as quickly as people would like. They'd like it done a month ago, but it should be done by the end of January, middle February, latest with the government shutdown issue.
So on some level, you believe the state is partially responsible for not getting those dollars doled out fast enough?
Well, yeah, the dollars have already come to the state.
Sure.
But then the state has to distribute that. That's no longer the federal government's issue.
Where's the breakdown?
Well, there's different parts, but you'd have to ask somebody from the state.
And we will do that. Lastly, do you foresee any troubles at the end of the month with the confirmation of William Barr, President Trump's nominee for Attorney General?
I'm not a Democrat. If there's a complication, it'll come from the Democratic side.
Sure.
On the other hand, Republicans have the vote to make it happen. You'd like it to be bipartisan. He's got a sterling record. There's no reason for people to object. But I have found that if Trump nominates somebody, sometimes folks object just because it's Trump's nomination.
Senator Cassidy, thank you so much for joining us in studio. We hope you get back to Washington and end this shutdown for everybody.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming in.